This is a part 2 to a video I already did called How Do I Change My Life? Now this video is going to be the faith-based version of the series, okay? Now if that is not your thing, that is totally cool. I invite you to hang in there with me though, because I might say something that make you go, I never really thought about it that way, okay? So I'm gonna, if you haven't seen the first one, let me tell you what it's about. So this girl that I absolutely adore, I love her. I have this huge soft spot for her and her sister. I just adore her. She's just the sweetest thing in the world. It just always makes me so happy when I get to see her. And she asked this ingenious question. I mean, when I heard this question, I was like, yes, nice. And the mom part of me was just like, yay. So anyway, her question was, I know where my life is now, obviously, and I know where I want it to be, but I don't know how to get there. And I was like, dang, girl, like that is a great question, because most people feel that way. They might not be able to verbalize it, but they feel that way. So it was asked in like a group setting, and this super cool guy was attempting to kind of help her out, and he was telling her like, you know, really this step one is that you need to submit your life to Jesus, and that's how you change. And, you know, and however, I do agree very much with that. I don't think it's step one. I think it's probably step 2, maybe 3. And let me explain. So if you haven't, like, obviously if you're not a Christian, then you maybe have some questions, and there's reasons why you haven't submitted, and you haven't, and I hate, you know, in our culture, the word submission is kind of like, I don't want to do that, and I'll get to that in a second. So that's kind of a rub too, but what really needs to be asked is, what is your view of God? Right? I mean, if you're not a Christian, there's obviously something going on, right? And I'm going to attempt to share with you a little bit about my journey, okay? Because I was that kid who had this really unhealthy view of God. And I was wild when I was a kid. I would have never wanted to be my parent. Not promiscuous, just wild, like major adrenaline junkie. Cars and horses were not fast enough. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, street racing. And so I was like, I'm not going to be around those religious kids or the church crowd, or I don't fit in there, and there's no way that I could be in the presence of God because he's trying to throw me in hell. Like, I'm not kidding you. I mean, every time I smacked my sister, I thought, I'm going to hell. And I kind of ran from God, you know? I felt like he was this thing up there that was just like the brimstone and fire. Somebody would have said you need to submit to God, I would have been like, are you out of your mind? Do you know who that guy is? Like, no. So, I'm just saying, I think that we need to back up a minute and talk about it. So, here's my little journey. So, when I got to be like early 20s, I had a traumatic several years at the hands of some very evil people, okay? And there was nothing I could do about it. And it brought me to a point where I was like, okay, God, I know you exist. Like, that's never been my issue. Like, I get that you exist. But if you're in charge, I don't understand what's going on, and I need to make sense of this, and I really need to know who you are, because I don't get this, and this sucks. Just being honest. So, to make a long story short, I ended up going to a Bible study for this wonderful, wonderful man. I just adore him. He's, you know, like my dad's age, did this Bible study, and it was just for women. And so, I mean, he did men's too, but he'd separate the men and the women so that, you know, it's a little more free for us to ask questions that were more pertaining to us. And I will never forget the day he slid this Bible across the counter at me, and he's like, why don't you look up, like, I don't know, Psalm 139:2 or something? And I'm like, excuse me? I have no idea what to look for in that book. Like, I've never cracked the thing in my life. It's not like a phone book, right? So he could tell by the look on my face, obviously, because I'm sure I'm not the first one that didn't know how to look up something in the Bible. And he had to show me how to use it. And that was the beginning of my journey. And the point of the story is that I was way down there. Like, I was starting at ground level, okay? So I went to this Bible study for years, and I got to meet some girls in there, and or young women. And we started hanging out every week and just became like sisters, super good friends. We're super good friends even to this day. And that was, I don't know, 15 years ago, 14 maybe. And I humbly began to understand God's character. And when I say humbly, I mean that it just broke me that I spent all those years thinking God was cruel. And when I became a mom, I really was able to understand how much you could really love somebody. And when you love somebody that much, that means they can also hurt you. It's like your heart is splayed open. Like, if somebody dies that you love, it just breaks you, right? And I began to see that God is so, so, so loving, just filled with love for us. So much more than I could even love my own kids, because I'm an infallible human. He's not. He is not like us. We are made in his image, but there is really no comparison here, okay? So the point of the matter is, there's so much I needed to learn about him and correct in my thinking. Then I learned about his kindness. I learned about his mercy, his immense mercy. And that came through answered prayer. That came from waiting so that timing was correct. That came from not answering my prayers because he was giving me what I needed instead of what I wanted. He's protecting me. He is fiercely loyal, so faithful, with you to the bitter end. In fact, he says, I am with you to the very end of the age. So it's not even to the end of this life, it's the end of everything. He is long-suffering. One thing that just broke me, I read this little devotional once, and it said something to the effect that when you cry, God cries. And a heavenly hand is reaching out to wipe your tear. And I was like, whoa, really? Like, I just never really understood that God suffers with us in this nasty, awful, broken world. He is using all of this for his glory and our good. And that he is down here in the muck and the mire, suffering with us. He cries. His emotions are all like we have, only like on steroids. Like he has an immense amount more of a capacity for kindness and sadness too, and also anger. He's angry when injustice happens. He's angry when we've been treated horribly. He's angry. Furious, in fact. And me being a justice lover was comforted by that. And I needed to see that before I could ever really give my life to him and understand what he did for me, understand that he gave everything for me, understand what he saved me from. Like, God doesn't want any of us to go to hell. And here I was growing up thinking that all he wanted was for me to go to hell. He wanted to catch me doing something wrong. Well, it wasn't very hard. I was wild. And he doesn't want anybody to go to hell. Hell wasn't even created for us. It was created for the fallen angels. Hell is simply a place devoid of God. And the only reason that people go there is because God is the ultimate gentleman. You know, when people say, no, 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 I don't want anything to do with you, as he's bawling, he says, okay, you can go to a place devoid of my presence. But I don't think people understand what that really means. Love, kindness, fresh air, green grass, birds singing, your favorite animal, the sunshine, the beach, mountains, mountain streams aren't there because that's all God. God is everywhere. His fingerprints are everywhere. Hell is simply a place devoid of all of that. He does not want you going there. And I was like, oh my gosh, really? Do you see why that needs to be step one? Now, after you figure that out, and you go, wow, this guy's actually pretty cool. He's not wanting to kill me or send me to hell or whatever, you know. Once you figure that out, you go, wow, he did all that for me. Yeah, I want to live for him. I want to figure out what he has for me, what purposes he created me for. Then you can submit. Then you can go, and I know, let's get back to the submission thing. Submission really is saying, like, okay, I don't have it all figured out. I need a leader. I need somebody to kind of partner with me here, but really and essentially be the boss. And I don't know about you, but I don't have what it takes to fix the world. I don't have what it takes to even fulfill the purposes that I have. I don't have what it takes to even function at a high level every single day. And if you do think you do have what it takes, think about when you've had like a horrific stomach flu, you know, just puking and you just can't even hardly function. Now I'm a celiac. So when I have even accidental exposure to gluten, I cannot stop throwing up. I don't think I really have to explain to you how helpless I feel. Okay, I'm not the one to run the world, you know, and I certainly don't feel like I'm the one to run the world or even my own life when I can't even pick myself up off the bathroom floor. Okay, so we don't have what it takes. We don't. We just don't. If we want to change, we have to be Jesus powered. That's just the way that it is. Now, if you're not at this point where you're like, yeah, I get it, and I want to learn more about this, and I want to begin to change my life. If you're not there, it's okay. It's really okay. You know, I want to be that person also that you don't feel like I'm shoving my opinion on you, that you feel like you could ask me questions, and I'm going to just try to help you understand what I feel and believe, and maybe it would help you kind of, you know, kind of open up a box a little bit where you could kind of look around and go, oh, okay, like I get it, you know, or I don't, and I need more answers, and maybe I don't even know what I don't know, and I don't even know what questions to ask. You get me, right? So I want to be that person for you. I want you to be able to send me emails and say, I don't believe. I'm not a believer. But I'm just curious about this piece. What do you think? And I want you also know that God is okay with your questions. Okay? He says if you seek him with all your heart, you will find him. Seek, seek, seek. He's okay with that. He's okay with the doubts. He understands that you need some answers. He gets it, okay? However, I want to caution you with something. If you're listening to this, you're probably fairly young. And what happens, at least with most young people, it did for me anyway, is that you have a little bit of an invincibility complex. You don't think you could ever die. It's not going to happen to you. And I just want to say, you don't know when you're going to die. I don't know when I'm going to die. I have no idea. I don't know how I'm going to die. I don't know when I'm going to die. I have no clue. I could live till I'm 90. I could die tomorrow. And the point of the matter is, doubts and questions are fine. However, you don't have forever. So make this seeking top priority. Okay? In fact, one of my husband's very, very best friends just died this weekend. Fly fishing with his brother, said, I'm just going to sit down for a quick cat nap. And he never woke up. Left his daughter behind. Heartbreaking. Like a punch in the stomach. Like you're just like, what? I mean, it's a shock, but it is a lesson. It is a lesson to us all. We don't know. And dying outside of Christ, you don't want to be there. Okay? So if you have questions for me, send them. But that's how you change your life. It's Jesus powered. It really is. And when you say, hey God, you know what? I do want to fulfill the purposes that you have for me. I know I can't do it by myself. He'll help you. You know? That's just how it works. We can't change to be who God created us to be without him, right? And I look back at who I used to be and I cringe. Like, I've said and done some horrible things and that I feel terrible about, and I could never be the person I am today without God. Never. And I've been through enough stuff in my life where I have seen the devil. So I know who God is. Okay? So anyway, that, my friends, is really how you change your life. So if you like the video, of course, hit the thumbs up. If you're already on my website and you want to poke around a little bit, see if there's any other questions that you have that I may have answered. Go ahead and look around. If there is something there that you want me to or something that isn't there that you would like me to answer, just send me a quick comment and I will be happy to do that. I just love you all to pieces, and I will see you next time. Bye.